In Myanmar, weeks of fighting near the town of Myawaddy on the Thai border has forced tens of thousands of people into Thailand, but many more remain trapped inside the country. The UN estimates 2.5 million people have been displaced by fighting since the military seized power in a coup in 2021. In the second of our series of his special reports from inside Myanmar, Tony Cheng witnessed the desperate conditions many of those people are living in.
Forced out of their homes and now hiding from the heat. A group of displaced people sit in the shade. They've nowhere else to go. This is the third time they've had to flee their village, close to the town of Kokore. Amongst them, Donopo, her daughters and grandchildren. They've been sheltering here for 3 weeks, with nothing but a bag of rice and some oil donated by the local temple.
They hadn't even arrived in our village before they started shelling us, and we were scared that the soldiers would shoot us. Last year, they were in our village. They loot anything valuable from our houses.
It's especially hard for the children. Most schools have been closed since the coup 3 years ago, and constantly moving is deeply unsettling. Other basic services like healthcare are scarce too. An injured fighter is being treated for a shrapnel injury. He winces with pain as the doctor treats and dresses his wound. The clinic's hidden under the deep jungle canopy. The military has targeted anywhere it thinks might be helping the rebels. 24 hours a day, there's a constant buzz in the sky. That's what the fighters say is a Y-12. It's a spotter plane that's up there looking for targets for artillery, but also capable of dropping barrel bombs. The fighters know to stay out of sight, slipping seamlessly under the cover of the trees and shrubs. The thud of explosions in the distance. Back at the clinic, a small truck arrives. Inside, Mapan A, in labour and moaning in pain. They hurry her into the surgery. She and her family are also displaced from their home. It took them 7 hours to get to the clinic.
We had to carry her with a hammock. There were around 8 people carrying her down the mountain. Then we took a car along the rough jungle road. It was so difficult. We didn't know how to relieve her pain.
They put her on a drip, but there's only so much the doctor can do. He's worried the long journey may have harmed the expecting mother and the baby inside. Very quickly the child is born, but it's not breathing. Its skin color is turning purple. The doctor quickly gets to work as vital seconds tick away. And then the sound everyone has been hoping to hear. Smiles and relief for the family and the medical staff, but a new arrival in a very uncertain world. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, Cayenne State, Myanmar.
The UN says the war in Myanmar has escalated in recent months, worsening an already desperate humanitarian crisis. More than 2.8 million civilians are internally displaced, the majority of whom have fled since the 2021 coup. Nearly 12.9 million people, that's around a quarter of the population, are facing food shortages. At least 50,000 people have been killed, including at least 8,000 civilians. And Human Rights Watch has recently warned that more than 1,000 Rohingya Muslim men and boys were abducted and forcibly recruited by the junta under that controversial conscription law. San Lwin is the co-founder of Free Rohingya Coalition. He's a human rights activist, and he's joining us live from Frankfurt in Germany. Thank you very much for your time. So as we've been reporting, the UN estimates that around 2.5 up to 2.8 million people have been displaced by the fighting in Myanmar. We hear of how difficult life is for people who aren't displaced because of the collapse of most services. So what is it like for those who don't have a home?
Well, we know much better than any other ethnic group in the country. More than 1 million Rohingya have been already taken refuge in Bangladesh, and also inside the country, more than 130,000 are in the so-called internally displaced camp, which look like the concentration in the for more than 11 years now. So without home, without you are living in the refugee camp or the some places where there is no any serviceman. You are completely disconnected from the world. Living in the wall means you have all the access to the education, like the healthcare, basic all the services. So it is like you are completely disconnected from the world. So these people are really suffering, and the humanitarian aid through the all in Myanmar, most of the territory are controlling by the ethnic resistance organization and the people defense forces. All
Yeah.
the humanitarian assistance should reach to them through this all the group, not through the military regime. That is the most important thing. If the all the humanitarian go through those organizations, they will receive all the aid.
Okay, and again, if we can talk about the incredibly difficult position that the Rohingya are in, it's very difficult for them to leave Myanmar, to go to Bangladesh, and yet we are seeing them either being forced to join the military or being abducted to join the military.
Well, unfortunately, the Bangladesh has not agreed to open the border, so the Rohingya youth have no choice but to be conscripted. As of now, at least 5,000 Rohingya youth were forcibly conscripted by the military in 3 different townships, Budirao, Sitwe, and the Chaupu. They have been using as human shield, doesn't have been killed on the battlefield. The military is forcing every day the Rohingya youth and their parent to be conscripted. So there is also the tension between the two communities because the military use them wherever they want, like the setting fire the houses of the Rakhine people and any other property of the Rakhine people.
And
This
Mr. Lwin,
creating
just
the
given the tensions that you mentioned, and we know how discriminated the Rohingya have been, do they have the option of joining, the People's Democratic Forces or some of the other groups that are fighting the army?
Well, there is no way to join with the pro-democracy forces across the country because Rohingya are not allowed to move from one village to another, one town to another. They are not allowed. And previously, the Arakan Army has also, the resistant group in the Rakhine State, they are gaining the more territory every day. They didn't recruit the Rohingya. As of now, while the military region is forcibly conscripting the Rohingya, the Arakan army also forcibly conscripting the Rohingya. So this strategy is like Rohingya killing each other on the battlefield,
Yeah,
and
again,
also
it's an impossible.
Excuse me, one sentence. Previously, the military region was only the sole perpetrator, but as of now, the Arakan army is acting like the command operator military region. They are carrying out the killing the Rohingya, abducting the Rohingya, and burning houses the Rohingya every day.
Which we know that they've done in the past. That is San Lwin joining us live from Frankfurt, Germany. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.